from the Wayback Machine. This is from June 10th, 2019.
What is going on, YouTube? This is Jim back with another video live from Los Angeles. I'm sitting in the hotel lobby right now, and
I was so excited for the Elite Controller series too. I recorded a YouTube video in the lobby of the hotel. I was fortunate enough to attend Xbox Fan Fest. They had them there. I got to play it. I got to hold it. I played the new Gears game with it. I played Borderlands 3 with it. I loved it. I loved everything about it. I loved the way it looked. I loved the way it felt. And I was dedicated to buying one on launch. And this comes from the guy who had, and still owns, I should say, it's not like past tense, who has an Elite Controller Series 1. I have logged thousands of hours with this thing, so much so that it is falling apart. And yet I still defend the original version of this controller. I loved it so much. And even though mine is breaking, literally falling apart. Now the rubber grips are almost completely gone. The left control stick is very loose. I've had to replace the front button, the bumper buttons now twice. Twice I've had to replace these things. It still is a little controller that could. So hearing my enthusiasm of this video, of my thoughts on it, of how much I loved it, of how great the thumbstick felt, of how the increased motors made it feel even more tactily responsive. And this is before the era of DualSense or PlayStation 5 or any of that. This is just playing an older game. I should say older. At the time it was new. Borderlands 3. Feeling how each gun vibrated differently, getting that smart haptic feedback, getting a more heavy vibration on big machine guns as opposed to more of a light vibration on a pistol, really changes the experience of that game. And yet, I didn't get one. I didn't get one for a lot of reasons. And the biggest reason was I heard a lot of issues about build quality. Now, I can attest, as I mentioned, my controller is completely falling apart, but it's got some miles on it. I would expect the second iteration to be better. I would expect the rubberized grips to be glued on better. I would expect the controller to not vibrate itself apart, no analog drift, no button sticking, none of that. And unfortunately, that is not the case. And it's really odd because I was this close, really this close to pulling the trigger on it. And I started seeing early reviews that the Elite Controller Series 2 had build quality issues. And this seems to be kind of like one of the worst kept secrets in Microsoft's experience with their hardware, that this thing was really broken. And a lot of people started panning it. And it got to the point that Microsoft kind of stopped stocking it. They really quit advertising it entirely. I was following the guy on Twitter, one of the main marketing managers behind it, because I was really into it. And I did a video and he commented back on it and we were tweeting back and forth and I played with it. I talked to him at FanFest and everything seemed like this was all on the up and up. And then mysteriously, this dude vanishes from Twitter. He quits tweeting entirely. He disavows any knowledge of this controller. And you don't see any advertisement at all. Before the Microsoft store closed down, they removed this from the store shelves. You couldn't go and play with it. They went back to some of their older controllers that they had available to try out. This was not like a premium item sitting on the shelf for you to go experience. So even the physical store, before it went belly up, really did a lot to disown and to just distance themselves from this thing. So it's surprising to me that here we are now and we have lawsuits in place that are still ongoing, specifically targeting the drift of this controller, although I have read large reports of just dead on arrival, button sticking, bad charges on batteries, loose connections on the USB, you name it, it just sounds like a total disaster, which is incredibly frustrating because Microsoft did such a phenomenal job of the Xbox One X, one of the most robust pieces of hardware I have ever owned. It is built like a tank. It is completely silent, and it's got a really nice build quality and feel to it. So when Phil Spencer worked his way up the ranks, being, focusing on that hardware piece, delivering the Xbox Series S, I'm sorry, the Xbox One S, the Xbox One X, and now ultimately working his way to the Series S and the Series X, it really made natural sense that the controllers would fall in line with this improved focus on hardware. And yet that is not the case. I've read so many articles in the last couple days regarding this lawsuit, and there is a class action lawsuit going on right now against Microsoft, alleging that a lot of people are having significant drifting issues. So much so that Microsoft has started to change their terms of warranty included. Now, this happened with the Red Ring of Death. I went through this not once, not twice, but 3 times on my Xbox 360, where I had to send it in for repairs, and then I got a unit back and it wasn't as good, and I had to haggle with the help desk people on the phone to get a reduced price. They sent me back one that was not my original console, and it was gross and disgusting, and it died. And my wife ended up buying me so many more consoles. I finally settled on the 360 Elite version, which was way at the end of the life cycle. It's not in use anymore, but it fortunately didn't fail me after that point. But this is not uncommon for Microsoft to be having significant issues. I thought we were past this. I really thought when the Xbox One X came out and you saw the beautiful build quality and the liquid cooling, and they did this really cool video where they took the entire thing apart and showed you how easy it was to put together and how robust the design was. I thought we were done with that. And here we are, now going through the same thing again with this Series X lawsuit. And Microsoft, by changing their terms of service, saying, hey, we meant, it was 90 days, we're going to give you a year, so much so that they're not only going back in time to, retroactively give people, service, they're actually refunding you entirely if you had to pay. So there is a lot of stuff going on here, and Microsoft consistently is claiming it's only a small percentage. Now, we live in a very weird time on social media. It is incredibly hard to determine exactly what this statement means. And clearly, most people who enjoy products don't run home and go online and brag about how great they are. It's just not how we do things in this world. My YouTube channel, I'm always unboxing things. I'm always talking tech. I'm definitely the exception to this rule. But you know as well as I do, if you buy something and it works, it works. You don't really talk about it. It's when you start to have problems, when you go on Facebook or you go on Reddit or you go on your various forums to talk about the problems you're having, to express how frustrated you are. You don't go on to say, this is the coolest thing ever. I love it. This is so great. So it's hard to honestly say just what this metric means and just what this small percentage actually includes. But I will say this, the fact that Microsoft is actively changing how they do business should tell you everything you need to know. Now, there are other people like this Windows Central article where they're saying, hey, I've had this controller for a couple months. I have gone back and re-reviewed it, and my particular controller still works great. I've had no issues with it. It's still fun to use. And that's what I would expect everybody to say. Yes, there will be manufacturer's defect. It's just it's just a byproduct of mass production. And unfortunately, 1 out of every so many units will be broken. But the sheer amount of negativity this controller received, the negative reviews it received across all major websites, internal review metrics, Best Buy, Walmart, Amazon, Target, GameStop, anywhere where you can leave feedback, I have seen nothing but negative things about this controller. So it blows my mind that here we are still having problems today. And every time I think maybe I'm going to take the plunge on it, I see more of these reviews come out. I see Microsoft pulling back their advertisement, and it tells me they know something is wrong too. You would not be doing what they're doing. You would not have pulled away from that advertising unless you knew you had a problem. And it's so frustrating that this controller really was, to me, such a revolutionary design. It radically changed the way I played Halo 5 Guardians. It radically changed the way I played a lot of games. The fact that I never had to take my thumbs off of the thumbstick and just changed fundamentally how I play games to this day. I cannot play without my PlayStation back button attachment. I am absolutely horrified when I get my DualSense how I'm going to be able to play Call of Duty Black Ops without having buttons on the back of my controller. I am petrified how I'm going to have to deal with this. So for me, and for the many who have invested a significant amount of money into said Elite controller, even young little optimistic Jimmy last year who sat in the hotel lobby to tell you how wonderful it was. Once you experience it, it's incredibly hard to go back. But after seeing how much negativity there is, maybe the reason why stuff like this doesn't flourish and the reason why things like this don't take off and blow up and become staples is of stories like this, that there's more technology to mess up, that the build quality begins to be more suspect, and that people just aren't willing to take a gamble on something that should be as, clear as works or doesn't work. The fact that you're investing a significant amount of money, in most cases at least half the price of the actual hardware itself that it's supporting, really does call a lot of stuff into question. So I hope Microsoft can figure out what the hell's going on here. I hope that they release some sort of statement or they've re-engineered things. It sucks that it took a lawsuit to get to this point, but I'm glad that we will see justice for people who were wronged by this, because this is not cheap, and technology like this should not be a gamble. It should just work. You shouldn't say, well, I'm going to buy an iPhone and I hope this one isn't dead on arrival. Well, there's $1,000. I'll try again in a couple weeks. It shouldn't be like that. This is a very, very different type of situation that Microsoft has put a lot of people in, and it's honestly frustrating it's come to this. So those are my thoughts on the Elite Controller Series 2 and the lawsuits. I've been getting a lot of questions about this, so I'm finally doing a video to tell you guys everything I know. If anything exciting else comes out of this lawsuit, in some major revolutionary design or some known flaw, I'll absolutely come back and cover it. But as far as I'm concerned, this is still a hard pass right now. This technology is not quite ready for prime time, despite my love for it, despite how good it feels, despite how robust it feels in your hands, how powerful the vibration is, how everything about it is perfect. It's that gamble that in a moment it could be gone like that, and you're going to be one of these people in this lawsuit and you're going to be pissed, and I don't want that. So hard pass for me. Hold off on this. Go play with the Elite one if you're fortunate enough to still have one despite the fact it's falling apart, or just wait and just accept that right now the technology isn't quite there. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Links to everything, including my lovely video review, 529 views strong, will be in the description box below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Take care of yourselves. And until next time, I will see you guys on the other side.